Trial of Bob versus Ford began. Without a lawyer, Bob defended himself. Ford's side presented a large number of design sketches to prove their research on the wipers. Bob had merely reassembled the most basic components of electronics: capacitors, resistors, and transistors. How could that be called a new invention? In rebuttal, Bob pulled out Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. He read a classic quote from the book.
If I may, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness.
Out of those 28 words, which word had Dickens invented? Dickens had merely rearranged existing words. Does that mean Dickens didn't create something new? Ford's side was rendered speechless. Round 1. Bob won. Next, acting as both plaintiff and defense attorney, Bob asked and answered his own questions. He talked about his inspiration for inventing the wipers. A few years ago, he was driving home from church with his family in a light drizzle. That's when he thought, why can't the wipers be like human eyelids? Why can't they blink? It was these flashes of inspiration that motivated him to invent the intermittent wipers. This won praise from the jury. That evening, Ford sent people to his house. They were willing to pay up to $30 million to put an end to all this, to reach a private settlement. They told him to think of his children, their future. This money would be enough for them to live a better life. Bob also felt he had let his kids down too much. He started to waver. He asked his children for their opinions. To his surprise, they united like never before. They wanted to see justice done for their dad. He couldn't give up halfway. In the second court hearing, Ford's side brought up Bob's history of psychiatric treatment. They said he couldn't even keep his own story straight, often confusing fantasy with reality. For someone like that, wasn't this just a ploy to extort money from Ford? Could his words be trusted? Bob wasn't fully prepared for this sudden interrogation. The situation started to look a bit passive. In the final summary stage, Bob delivered an impassioned speech.
Used their influence and their money in all their corporate power. They claimed another man's work for their own. They had the arrogance to sit here and look you in the eye and say, no, the Ford company didn't do anything wrong. When I walked into this courtroom, I was wearing a badge right here, and you couldn't see it. Said I was an inventor, contributor to society. Just gonna ask you to use your memory and your good sense to do the right thing.
The ultimate decision was handed over to the jury. In the end, the jury decided to uphold justice. They ruled that Ford Company had infringed on Bob's rights and had to pay him $10 million. Bob's friends and family stood up, applauding and cheering. Bob's eyes welled up with tears. He had waited 12 years for this moment. After winning the lawsuit against Ford, Bob went on to sue Chrysler, GM, Mercedes, and other companies, winning $7 million in compensation. Although he won the case and the honor, he lost the 12 years he should have spent happily living with his family. His wife never returned to his side in the end. So tell me, did he ultimately win or lose?